Good morning and welcome everyone to our very special This is Irish Jazz panel, brought to you by Ireland's primary jazz organisation, Improvised Music Company, in partnership with our export bureau, Culture Ireland. My name is Kenneth Killeen.
And I'm Katrina O'Mahony.
And we're coming to you from deep in our COVID-proof bunker here in Dublin, Ireland. We are, of course, wishing that we could be with everyone in Bremen, but this is the next best thing. We do hope you're having a good Jazzahead digital so far. In this session, over the next 45 minutes, we will highlight the contemporary Irish jazz scene for you, bringing you on a whistle-stop tour of jazz from the Emerald Isle.
We'll also be introducing you to this year's Irish delegation at Jazzahead, and we're going to sit down with our export bureau, Culture Ireland, who are able to support Irish musicians to perform internationally.
And we'll show you the exciting things on the Irish jazz scene, from our rather unique Irish jazz history, the early days of repression and controversy, to the new work that has inspired, as well as the dynamic activity happening on even the smallest scenes today.
We'll take you on a tour of some of the most innovative and interesting work that IMC and Irish musicians have produced as a response to the pandemic. We think for a little country on the west of Europe, we have quite a big musical reputation.
Indeed. I suppose many people think of this when they think of Irish music. This is a pub setting in Dublin, and this is a traditional Irish music band. And we're very proud of the fact that we're associated with this music around the world. We're also associated with other music, such as these guys. You might recognize them. Katrina, have you any thoughts on that?
Our apologies.
Yes, if you're a fan, great. If you're not, our apologies. Or maybe even these guys.
Sincere apologies.
Yeah, this is all around. Sincere apologies.
Good hair, though. Very
good hair.
Iconic 90s.
And some good hair. We go to some really, really good beards. This is the Dubliners, a very famous traditional group from Ireland, and sporting some pretty nice beards long before they were trendy, we have to say. So all of these are more readily associated with Irish music and culture. But I suppose this session is to highlight to you that there's quite a lot more to it than that. And we're posing the question, do you think you know Irish music? We're asking you to think again. And this is Ireland calling Europe. Let's play.
We want to work with you, our peers across Europe, to bring Irish jazz to European stages. And of course, work with you and your respective export bureaus to bring international bands to Ireland. We're all about collaboration, and we'll show you a bit more about that during this session.
But first, stop. Let's meet the Irish delegation of professional participants that are with us this year. You can catch them right now in the chat or find their profiles over on our exhibitor page. You'll have a chance to hear more about their music and work later, but for now, let's introduce them.
Welcome back. This is Aoife Concannon here from the IMC team. So, jazz in Ireland has not always had the smoothest of sailing. One of the most historic moments of Irish jazz was in 1934, when it was effectively banned by the Catholic Church for supposedly corrupting the morals of the people of Ireland. There were crowded protests on the streets against jazz music, with people shouting, "Down with jazz" and "Out with paganism." The morality of the music was debated in Parliament and discussed in national newspapers, with many calling for a complete ban of jazz music on the airwaves and in the dance halls of Ireland.
Now, when we heard about this strange but true story, we couldn't resist. We decided to create a festival called Down with Jazz, taking our cues from this sheltered history and contrasting it with dynamic, innovative Irish jazz of the 21st century. And audiences love it. They love our tongue-in-cheek references to a turbulent past when jazz was emerging in this country. They love the lineup of contemporary music against this historic backdrop. Since 2012, we have rallied crowds to enjoy the best and most innovative homegrown jazz Ireland has to offer today. And we believe that this is something that we can take to stages right across Europe. This is a great opportunity to put a program of Irish jazz artists on your festival or club stages under this unique Down with Jazz branding. Like the very best stories, this unbelievable but true tale is a marketing dream, guaranteed to get curious audiences out to hear the very best Irish live jazz at your venue or festival.
We at IMC can offer you curation of exciting contemporary Irish jazz acts, a full suite of promotional materials, and opportunities to connect with Ireland's export bureau, Culture Ireland. We have 6 years' worth of playful design and branding, genuine archive materials, as well as a full media package for local promotion. So get down with jazz on your stage now. We're available to talk this weekend and beyond, so do get in contact. But for now, enjoy a look at some of our Down with Jazz content from over the years and imagine this exciting brand, programme and vibe at your venue.
The abuse we are declaring war against is far worse than that of drunkenness or landlordism. Action is needed to be taken by the church and state. Young teachers should be trained for the teaching of Irish music and dancing, and the government should compel the closing of dance halls at 11 o'clock. I appeal to political parties to give up their disputes and unite on this question and put down this jazz.
Here we are in 1934, following the music and dances of the Negroes.
I'd like to know what jazz is, and would some of the members of the council give a demonstration of it for me?
Even our own Minister for Finance, Sean McEntee, he is in fact himself jazzing every night in the week.
Okay, let's talk export. Joining me now is Ciarán Walsh, the showcase manager of Ireland's Export Bureau, which is Culture Ireland.
Kenneth, hiya. How's it going?
Hey, Ciarán, how are you?
Good.
No Bremen this year.
No,
but
unfortunately not.
We don't have the flights and we don't have all of that, and we're in our COVID-proof bunker here in Dublin. It's great to have you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. I'm very glad to be here.
So I just wanted to kind of, I suppose, talk about the work of Culture Ireland. I mean, maybe some people are not aware that we have a dedicated export bureau, and I know that you cover quite a broad remit, but Culture Ireland started back in 2002?
2005, actually.
Okay.
So we've been going now about 15 years. So it's a division of the main of Ireland's cultural ministry. So we've a team of about 10. Our annual budget is about just over 4 million euros, and that covers all the art forms. So my role in particular is to look at creating opportunities for Irish artists, which is the showcase side of the house. And then we also run a regular touring scheme, which is the supporting the opportunities by Irish artists side of the house. So that is in the normal run of events, that will be supporting Irish artists to present their work internationally. So in the past, that's meant supporting international touring by artists. But at the moment, obviously, we're prohibited from doing that. So we are supporting Irish artists in their work online at the moment.
Okay, I mean, obviously things have changed dramatically. Well, in 15 years, but most dramatically over the last year and a half, let's say. And when you talk about all art forms, I mean, just to be clear, we're talking dance, we're talking theatre, we're talking visual art, and we're talking the broad spectrum of music generally, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So as well as those, we'd have theatre, dance, film, literature, visual arts, architecture, street art, and circus. So we cover a multitude. And we're going to talk about music specifically. A little bit earlier in the session, I suppose we had some images on the screen of the Dubliners and U2 and obviously some trad music and things like that. And for a small country, we're well known for our musical output. And I guess in terms of export, some of it is more kind of readily internationally available and saleable, let's say. And so as a showcase manager, what's your thinking when it comes to the music side of things, in terms of I suppose representing broadly the music right across the spectrum from Ireland? Well, I suppose it covers our general national cultural identity. In terms of music, there would be a perception about our own kind of musical output, particularly in terms of trad and folk. And as you mentioned, the Dubliners, there would be like a senior generation of established artists who would be known the world over. My particular priority in terms of the showcase activity is to demonstrate that, yes, there are fantastic musicians at all levels of their career, but also they cover not just the kind of expected genres. So they would be outside the trad, outside the folk. We've fantastic composers and musicians working in the contemporary classical, say, at the moment. And also within jazz, I think there's an emerging generation of younger artists. And it's about kind of managing expectations on the part of our international partners, but also giving them the opportunity to engage with emerging artists.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's interesting that, obviously the title of this panel is, Think Irish Music or Think Again, because we are associated, I suppose, a lot with those tropes and those stereotypes, but there is a lot more kind of to it. I mean, if you look at the kind of, the dynamism of the music scene in Ireland in particular, I think it extends, beyond the sort of the obvious candidates, let's say. And I'm fully aware that a lot of the people watching this program multidisciplinary venues, So I suppose there is an opportunity there, is there an opportunity there, let's say, to present, an Irish program that would cover jazz and improvised music, as well as the more contemporary classical and things like that?
Absolutely. I suppose we would see, again, the showcase side of the house as trying to get international promoters to engage to meet those artists. We know the artists deliver. We know when there's engagement that promoters and presenters see the opportunity to bring Irish artists, emerging Irish artists, to new audiences. And it's about creating the right environment for those partnerships. But as you say about having an event that covers all musical genres or art forms, that would be something we would be fascinated to partner with the venue on.
Yeah, and I mean, we could be partnering with organizations like us, IMC, for the jazz side of things, and then the Contemporary Music Centre, for example, maybe for the So there's quite a lot of interlinking that we could do to present something that covers quite a diverse live prospect on stages in Europe. You mentioned earlier about sort of the COVID, the pandemic, and you've transitioned to assisting the international development of artists through online works.
Yes.
Do you have any examples of things recently that sort of might have landed well in that digital space?
Well, I think what's happened in the digital space in the last kind of 6 months at the showcases I've attended, so that would be Ireland Music Week last October, which is 50 artists in the rock indie world that's presented by First Music Contact, and then with Folk Alliance, which covers the folk and trad sector, in February, and then with the Irish delegation at South by Southwest in March. What you do realise in the digital presentation of showcases, that the reach, it can be multiples of what you would have in a live context. So say with Focal Lines, when we present our artists there in an in-person event, we would have, say, 80 or 90 promoters or presenters in the room. In a digital context, we had over 400. So it does seem to be really working. It does rely on, I have to say, the showcase presentation does rely on high quality recordings of the work. And again, that's been a real learning. Even this time last year, artists who were obviously working within very tight travel restrictions would have presented work from their own homes or from their own domestic settings. I think that's moved on, and it moved on quite quickly in the first kind of 4 or 5 months of the pandemic. So now artists presenting in a showcase context need to have a high quality recording in a dedicated venue with high production values, rather than just a more domestic setting.
Yeah, I think as we'll see later on in this session, we're putting forward an idea about digital touring, the hybrid model where we can, the thing about digital touring as well is that, it's essentially carbon neutral. We're not putting people on planes and things like that. So, and it's a great way to test new markets. And Culture Ireland is actively supporting
Yes,
the internationalization of Irish artists in that context.
Yeah, we've moved at the moment our regular scheme, which would, as I said, would have covered the more traditional touring model in the past. It's now supporting festivals who want to present Irish artists in a digital context. So the details are all on our website, but in effect, once a festival books an artist to present, we can assist with those presentation costs, technical costs in relation to streaming or indeed assist with some of the artist fees and promotion. So great. The details are on our website. The other thing we've done is we've made the application process more frequent. So in the past it would have been quarterly. Now it's every 2 months. So our next deadline is the 1st of June, and that's for events from the 15th of August onwards.
Let's say for a foreign agent, somebody working in another country who would be interested in bringing an Irish, artist to their country, can they apply to Culture Ireland?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, okay. So the application can come from the artists themselves. It can come from the festival. It can come from a promoter. It can come from anybody who wants to assist in the presentation of Irish work. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the artist. Again, the details are on the website, and any of the team is happy to engage with anybody who has a particular query. We're being, I suppose, in moving into the digital sphere, we're still being fairly flexible in how the model works. So if you have a particular event or a query around how the presentation might work in the context of your particular event, we're very happy to talk to you.
And do you think this digital hybrid, all of these buzzwords, which are the new reality, let's face it, do you think they're here to stay? Do you think they can coexist, or they will coexist in some way with when we get back to live?
I think industry events will definitely exist in that hybrid context. I kind of hope that a lot of the touring will revert to in-person festivals. I mean, the other side of it is, and you raised it earlier, is just around climate change and the impact of international travel. And I suppose, again, what this has forced us to do, what the pandemic has forced us to do, is really consider, when we do go back to funding international travel, how we do that in a more climate-friendly way than we would have in the past. And that will probably mean that when we do revert and travel restrictions are relaxed, it will rely on much more on joined-up touring as opposed to touring for one-off events. Sure. It would be much more to allow for that efficiency.
That's interesting, because throughout this pandemic, this concept of slowing things down and engaging more with a place as an artist, and I think jazz musicians in particular are kind of uniquely placed to kind of work in one area for, like, an artist in residence, of sorts, and visit a city as an individual, working with local musicians there. I think new work can be created in that context, and they could perform for, younger audiences and do some workshops and stuff like that. But a deeper slowing things down and a deeper engagement than, I suppose, the one night stands that, were the prevalent concept of touring, and it's, I suppose that's something that Culture Ireland is obviously, Culture Ireland is interested in
in fairness, we were moving towards that before the pandemic in terms of moving away from kind of one-off opportunities. I think more joined-up touring is also a sign of a kind of more considered professional development in terms of your touring strategy, in terms of artist-owned touring strategy.
Sounds good. Do you think we'll be in Bremen next year?
I hope so. I would like nothing better. I can't wait to get back to live gigs.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's what I was saying about, when you were talking about what the future holds. Like for me personally, that you can't beat live performance. You just cannot beat it. So I welcome the day I'll be back in a venue. Right.
Well, rest assured, we want live too. We want to be in Bremen next year, and we want to have an Irish delegation there as well. And we look forward to speaking with you then. But for now, you can check out all of the information on Culture Ireland's website.
Yeah, cultureireland.ie.
And Ciarán Walsh, thanks very much.
Pleasure.
So, as I'm sure many of you know, Ireland is a relatively small island perched here on the western edge of Europe. So connecting with Europe and even further afield is something that is very important to us. Something that we're always looking out for is connecting and collaborating with our peers across Europe. As you'll have heard earlier from Ciarán Walsh at our Culture Ireland Export Bureau, export is vital to Ireland because as collaborators, we find the edges of our small countries relatively quickly. Here at IMC, we are members of the Jazz Promotion Network, which covers Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales, as well as being members, of course, of EJN, or the Europe Jazz Network. And it is via these networks that we are constantly looking out for ways to connect with other countries, to create fresh, collaborative experiences for artists and audiences to enjoy both here in Ireland and, of course, abroad.
You may be familiar with IMC's 12 Points Festival, which is a major way that we connect with the European scene since we established the festival in 2007. And shortly, we'll take you through some highlights of outstanding Irish artists who have performed at the festival over the years. 12 Points brings 12 exciting emerging artists from 12 different European countries together in Dublin or in partner cities in alternate years to perform, jam, and have discussions at the Jazz Futures Conference. Thanks to the Europe Jazz Network, 12 Points in 2019 saw the introduction of the new Zenith Award for Emerging Artists, presented to a highlight 12 Points band. And we're currently working with European partners around creating a Zenith Award tour for the Swiss act trio Heinz Herbert.
Yeah, a major collaborative project which we've been involved with in recent years also has been Jazz Connective, working together with partners from Lyon, from Ljubljana, Birmingham, London, Helsinki, and Łódź. During the Jazz Connective events, Irish musicians performed in Ljubljana, Birmingham, and London, creating new ensembles with international peers, with a vibrant exchange of musical ideas which extended to our Dublin edition, which created 2 new international ensembles of Irish and European musicians.
And for the final digital version of Jazz Connective last December in Lyon, we commissioned new work from Irish artists, which you'll see in a moment in our next clip, which combined documentary and performance, exploring the artist's creative process and giving audiences insight into how the final work is created.
And another project that we're working on this year is with 7 other EU countries is the Crisscross Europe project. Irish guitarist Chris Guilfoyle is a member of the Pan-European band, which will be mentored by iconic drummer Jim Black. And they will perform in various parts around Europe at the end of this year, including Dublin.
Elsewhere, we've created some exchange projects with other countries directly via shared double bills. Our Interland project with Jazz from Scotland is one such example, although unfortunately it's currently in the COVID sin bin.
So we're coming up with new ideas, as have many people during the pandemic. And this year we're expanding our touring potential into the digital domain with a new hybrid touring model where an Irish artist can perform in your venue, paired with a live local band. This hybrid digital touring model is essentially carbon neutral, allows Irish artists to perform in new markets and provides an international dimension to local-only bills for both the artists and indeed your local audiences to enjoy. So if you're interested in discussing any of these projects or concepts with us, please get in touch via the Talc platform. Visit our exhibitor page on the Jazzahead website, or indeed visit our own website, improvisedmusic.ie. So I guess we are open to finding sustainable collaborations with possibilities for slow touring, residencies, and creative and thoughtful projects which are suitable for artists and sustainable for artists, organisations, and of course the planet.
Now, we've put together a short video of some of our Irish artists' recent collaborations and international work. So take a look. In Europe, let's play.
Deep in the darkness, you'll see things the silence brings, murmuring. Even the night owls, the creatures prowl, they're searching how to surrender their movements to madness. It's only in my head, something real soft,
While we haven't been able to do quite as much collaborating with our international peers as we would like this year due to that old pandemic, we have been able to work with Ireland's incredibly versatile and adaptive musicians to find new ways of creating connection through music. We are really, really proud of the work that Irish musicians have done during this time, and we want to share some of that with you during this next segment.
For example, our Blind Date Jazz series pairs duos of improvising musicians together with some unique twists. The musicians are completely hidden from each other behind a curtain. They have no idea of who they are playing with in advance. In fact, they don't even know which instrument they are performing with. So there are no scores, there are no charts, there are no plans. The result is a purely musical conversation, sight unseen. That is, until we drop the curtain about halfway through. To quote Wynton Marsalis, jazz music is the power of now. There is no script, it's conversation.
Early on in the Irish lockdown, we were also able to commission a new sequence of 8 interconnecting improvised works called Piece by Piece, which let our musicians connect with each other from the isolation of their own homes during lockdown through the creative process. It also allowed our audiences to continue to connect with new music from their own homes. So each piece of music took its inspiration in its concepts or sounds or motifs from the preceding ones, and our artists created this incredible set of audio-visual works completely unique to the digital sphere they were created for. We found that without stages or live audiences, Irish jazz musicians were well capable of becoming composers and performers and film artists all in one. And they also had the kind of unusual experience of being able to watch the premiere of their works online alongside the audience.
And while we don't want to toot our horn too much, we will continue to do so because we believe our Irish artists are expert at creating connections outside of these dedicated jazz audiences. With our Hotter Than July World Music Festival program, and indeed our fun-sized jazz projects which focus on young audiences and families, Irish jazz artists are both adaptable and dynamic, and we believe that they can bring a multidisciplinary approach to any residency, collaboration project, or touring prospect.
All of this work, if you are interested, is available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Improvised Music Co. We do really appreciate a subscription if you're not too inundated with them. And it will also help you keep up to date on new work that Ireland's amazing improvising artists are creating along with us.
So yeah, we've put together some highlights of these unique journeys that Irish musicians have taken over the last year and a half, Piece by Piece, Blind Date Jazz, and some other recent works, which we believe showcase the diversity and creativity of Irish artists in a period of intense lockdown. We'd like to share that with you now.
I had no idea.
Well, I kind of said, who is this now? But when the little microtones came in, I said, I kind of doubted.
It's you! It's you! Oh yeah.
Sabroso.
Te dicen a ti, coquetona.
Ay, a mí me dicen así.
Te dicen a ti, coquetona.
Muchachos.
And last, but of course by no means least, we would like to introduce you to the work of our Irish delegation, who are at Jazzahead, many of them for the first time, with the support of our Export Bureau Culture Ireland. You'll no doubt have met some of them over the recent days in the digital domain here at Jazzahead, but I think they are all right now in the chat, so do say hi. We have 8 musicians representing their own work as soloists and ensembles, as well as manager Adele McClear, who represents Irish artist Zaska, amongst other artists. And you probably will know Mr. John Daly, who is the artistic director of one of the longest running jazz organisations in Ireland, the Limerick Jazz Society and the associated Limerick Jazz Festival.
The Irish delegation represents music for all tastes, as they'll tell you themselves in a minute, so please dive in and explore their work. You'll find long-standing international ensembles, contemporary twists on Celtic folk music, concept-driven free jazz, evocative classic jazz vocals, cinematic post-jazz improv, and stylish blended sounds with influences of Latin, funk, pop, and much more. The delegation's participant profiles are associated with our own Improvised Music Company Jazzahead exhibitor profile, and you can find out more about them with the attached documents. You can also visit improvisedmusic.ie/jazzahead to learn more about this delegation in particular, or Irish jazz in general. So now let's meet the Irish delegates.
Hi, my name is Charlie Moon. I'm an Irish jazz guitarist and a singer. My current project is my debut album Patchwork with my sextet, which features some of the top musicians Ireland has to offer. Patchwork is a vocal album with original arrangements for tenor and trumpet throughout, consisting of compositions spanning almost 100 years from the likes of Monk, Ellington, to modern electronic artists such as James Blake and Tom York, as well as compositions of my own. The sound of the album is inspired by the Blue Note record Lee Morgan's Search for the New Land, and falls somewhere between the categories of cool jazz and hard bop with modern influences.
I'm Adele McAleer and I manage Zaska. Guitarist and musical director Max Zaska leads a changing lineup of talent that blends modern funk, neo-soul and jazz. With an emphasis on collaboration, Zaska is adaptable and scales from a 4-piece to a 12-piece, always giving a high-energy and fun live show. Zaska's second album is out this autumn. Get in touch for bookings.
Hi, I'm Sue Reinhardt. Hugh Warren and I play new music and reimagine folk music. We were to play at Bimhouse, Jazzovia and Cambridge Modern Jazz Festival. We're bringing our emotive storytelling to enrich and educate communities internationally.
My name is Adam Nolan and I'm a free jazz saxophonist from Ireland. My influences include Ornette Coleman, Sam Rivers, Pharoah Sanders. Primal Music is the title of the new branch of free jazz I'm trying to create. A new rawness, a new risk factor, and a new boldness and creativity within improvisation.
Hey, I'm Evan O'Brien. I lead the band known as Ring Slannery. We take inspiration from film score and impressionist music, recontextualizing these sounds and aesthetics within the format of a contemporary jazz ensemble. We aim to create music with a strong sense of atmosphere and aesthetic. If you're interested in music with a strong sense of mood, music that manages to convey a story without the use of words, I recommend you check us out. Thanks.
Hi, my name is John Daly and I'm Director of Limerick Jazz and Limerick Jazz Festival, who have been promoting jazz in Limerick for over 40 years. We also run a great education programme. I am so delighted to be part of the Irish delegation this year, attending Jazzahead virtual and looking forward to meeting and chatting with some of you and seeing some great showcases. Anybody wanting to contact us can do so via the links at the end of this short video. Looking forward to seeing you all very soon.
Hi, I'm Catherine Timoney and I'm a jazz singer-songwriter from Belfast. I've got an EP coming out in September called Life Came Into Colour. It's classic jazz melodies, honest lyrics and contemporary production. The aim of my music is to create an emotional connection with the audience. Thank you for listening.
Life came into colour when I met you.
This is us, but not entirely, because there's spoken word, Latin jazz, binge-worthy music or TV series. There's also my research in AI ethics and our playgrounds. Sure, we can do live music, but we also do talks and lectures. We are a duo. We can adapt. My name is Martin Clancy. His name is Leo Hofdug. And together, we are Embassy Goddess.
Hi, my name's Kevin Brady. I'm a drummer and composer from Dublin. I'm here to present my latest project, which is entitled Plan B. It features an electric quartet with musicians from the US, Bill Carruthers on Fender Rhodes and Seamus Blake on tenor sax, and Dublin bass player Dave Redmond. The album's going to be released in October 2021 with Ubuntu Music from London. And if you want to find out further info, visit my website at www.kevinbrady.ie.
So that about wraps up our 45-minute session, and thank you so much for tuning in, folks. If we've piqued your interest, and we really hope that we have, improvisedmusic.ie is the best place to start. And you can find out everything we've mentioned today at improvisedmusic.ie/jazzahead.
If you would like to speak to a real live human being about Irish jazz and any of the artists or projects we've mentioned today, there will always be someone ready to chat to you at the Improvised Music Company exhibitor page. So do drop in and say hello. We'd love to talk to anyone about ideas, projects, collaborations, or just to share some good music.
And if you're interested in our digital projects like Piece by Piece or Blind Date Jazz, do subscribe to our YouTube channel at the link in the chat to keep up to date. We really appreciate the support to further our reach. You can, of course, also follow us on all of the usual channels, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Our handle is @improvisedmusic, and the links are all in the chat.
As a reference, if you'd like to find out a bit more about Improvised Music Company, Down with Jazz, and the Irish Jazzahead delegation, have a look at some of the documents in our exhibitor profile, and you can check out the associated participant profiles to find out more about the Irish musicians that you've met here today.
So all that's left for me to say is Míle buíochas, which is Gaelic or Irish for thanks a million. And that's all from us here at IMC and from indeed all of us on the Irish jazz scene.